Angela, wonderful, yeah. Your name is? Sue. Right, let's talk. Sue, this your first time? Welcome. So we started last week. We started a new series, the first beginning. We're going through this mantra that we're singing, which is called the Dasāvatara, which is repeating the names of the 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu. And each week I'm recounting one of the stories associated with the name. So we're going to start with the story. Okay, yeah. So, just to begin, I'll remind us about last week's story very quickly.
咁咧，我哋繼續咧去到講述呢個Vishnu 嘅10個化身嘅故事喎。咁我哋上次咧講咗第一個故事，咁咧我哋而家一齊回顧一下呢個故事。
So last week we talked about kurma-sarira. It's the first name under Dasāvatara at the top. It's kurma-sarira.
咁咧上一次講咧嘅化身咧係 kurma-sarira。
And kurma-sarira means body.
Sarira 嘅意思咧就係身體、軀體。
And mina means fish.
Mina 就係魚。
And in this story, there was the great sage and king.
咁大家記唔記得咧有一個嘅聖人啦，同埋一個國王啦。
Satyavrat.
佢係叫做 Satyavata。
Whose name means committed to truth.
咁佢呢一個嘅名字咧就係佢咧係忠於真理。
And he found a small fish that floated into his hands when he was doing his ablutions in the river one morning.
咁佢有一日喺個河邊嗰度咧，即係清洗啦嘅時候咧，就有條魚跳咗上嚟喎，佢嘅手掌手心嗰度。
And the fish asked him to for protection.
咁嗰條魚咧就請求呢一位嘅聖人國王咧去到保護佢。
And as he tried to protect the fish got larger and larger.
咁當佢去到保護呢一條魚嘅時候咧，嗰條魚咧越變越大。
And he kept on having to reaccommodate the fish with bigger containers.
咁佢每一次變大咧，咁呢一位嘅國王咧又要揾一個大啲嘅容器嘅罌啊或者煲啊去到裝住佢。
Showing great commitment to his promise to protect and care.
咁咧，所以我哋見到呢位國王咧，佢真係好忠守，忠於佢嘅承諾，每一次都會，就算個魚變大，佢都會照樣去到保護佢。
Until finally the fish got so big that he had to be returned to the ocean.
咁最後咧，條魚大到咧要翻去個海洋嗰度。
At which point the king realized this is no ordinary fish.
咁呢個時候咧，呢位國王咧就意識到啦，呢條魚咧非比尋常。
And he said, "You must be the Supreme Lord."
你肯定係至尊者。
And the Supreme Lord said, "Yes."
佢話係啊，我的而且確係。
And then he told him that, the end of the world is coming.
但係佢話咧，世界末日即將嚟到啦，
A big flood.
會有一個大洪水。
But don't worry, I will send a boat.
不過唔使擔心，我會送你一艘船。
And you collect some animals, some seeds, and the 7 great sages, and I will lead you through the flood.
咁你帶住呢啲嘅動物啦，一紅一枝啦、種子啦，同埋呢7位嘅聖人，跟住咧進入呢一艘船。
And we'll get this, the king of snakes, Vasuki, will attach to the boat and to the Supreme Lord as fish, and will lead him through.
咁咧就揾嚟呢一條嘅蛇啦，叫做 Vasuki 蛇王，就將佢咧就用佢咧成為好似一條繩咁樣咧，將呢一個魚嘅魚鰭啦，同埋呢一條蛇，用呢條蛇將魚鰭同埋嗰艘船咧就綁埋一齊。
And while the Lord, playing as a fish, having fun in the waters of the end of the world, was pulling the boat, he sang the truth, and Dasāvatara became enlightened.
咁所以咧，跟住之後就呢個大洪水就嚟到啦。呢一條魚咧就喺呢個大洪水裏面咧就喺度即係嬉水啦、遊玩啦。咁咧佢去到傳授咗呢個真理咧，俾呢一個嘅國王。
This beautiful story is interesting for so many reasons. One is that it gives us a picture of how if we care for the Lord, then the Lord cares for us after.
咁咧呢一個嘅故事裏面咧有好多嘅一啲嘅精華嘅部分啦。其中一個咧就係點樣咧呢一位嘅國王啦，去到或者我哋啦，去到照顧至尊者，而至尊者咧又會調翻轉咧，又會照顧我哋。
But it requires faith.
但係當中咧係需要呢一個信心。
We have to have the original faith to actually care for that small little fish that seems so minuscule and nothing.
咁一開始嘅時候咧，佢有呢一個嘅信心，去到咧照顧呢一條咁細條嘅魚。
And we have the faith to continue as it changes and grows and demands more from us.
咁呢一個信心咧，由嗰度原初開始啦，慢慢咧越嚟越增加，因為呢一條魚咧向佢要求更加多。
And then the faith to finally realize you are no ordinary fish. You must be the Supreme Lord.
咁最後就係呢個信心嘅帶領咧，佢有呢個覺悟，你唔係一條普通魚，你係至尊者。
This is also faith, the faith of recognition.
呢個都係信念嚟嘅，信心嚟嘅，佢能夠去到認出、認清呢一個信心。
And finally the faith to follow the fish through the Palaya, through the flood, where everything that you know is washed away.
咁跟住之後咧，佢嘅信心咧就追隨住呢一條嘅魚，但係當時所有一切都受到毀滅。
And this story is also a beautiful reflection of life, because at the end of our life, when we pass away, everything that we know while we're alive also washes away, and it's only faith that brings us through.
咁所以我哋去到人生終結嘅時候咧，其實所有一切都要擺低啦，冇嘢可以帶走啦。但係嗰一個嘅信心，我哋就會帶住去到下一段嘅旅程。
So last week's story was a beautiful story. With the quality of faith was very strong in that story. There may be other themes, but that story was very much about faith.
咁呢一個嘅故事裏面有好多嘅主題啦，不過其中我覺得即係最突出嘅主題就係呢一個嘅信心。
So today's story is a bit different.
今日嘅故事又有啲唔同。
And it begins with, I'm going to just open my notes, because it's a more involved story.
咁呢一個嘅故事咧，參與性係非常強嘅。
So we have to first talk about the divine and demonic siblings.
咁呢個故事嘅開始咧就係講正邪兩方。
They're called the Devas and the Asuras.
咁就我哋稱為神 ，OK， 即係嗰啲神人，我哋有時稱為半神人嗰啲神明啦，同埋惡魔。
And they're siblings.
咁其實佢哋本身係兄弟嚟，
They have the same father.
有同一個父親。
His name is Kashyapa.
咁 咁個父親個名咧叫 Kashyapa。
And he is the son of Brahma,
咁大家想象下，佢係四面神
The
嘅
Lord of
兒子嚟
creation.
喎。咁而四面神咧係負責呢一個嘅創造。
and that's important because Brahma is mortal. He's a god, a great god, and yet he's not immortal, he's mortal.
咁但係留意一點咧，就係、雖然四面神係非常之偉大啦，但係佢都要去到經歷死亡嘅。
And so Kashyapa also is mortal.
咁Kashyapa 咧都係唔係不朽嘅。
But they have different mothers,
啊
Aditi and Aditi.
咁咧佢有兩位妻子，一位咧就叫 Diti， 一個叫做 Aditi。OK， 呢一位聖人有兩位妻子。
And these names are very interesting because Diti means splitting, and Aditi means not splitting.
Split。咁 Diti 嘅意思咧就係會分裂嘅，Aditi 咧就叫分裂嘅。
And so this is interesting because it reminds us then of two verses in the Bhagavad Gita
咁另外諗起霍家凡嗰兩個詩節，
in which the quality of knowledge is described.
喺呢一個詩節裏面咧，去到描述關於知識嘅品質、
In
特質，
according to the guna, according to the quality of guna.
就係以呢一個嘅物質自然屬性觀啊，去到劃分嘅。
So in the mode of goodness, knowledge in the mode of goodness is the knowledge by which all beings are seen as the one indestructible existence.
咁喺呢一個善良屬性嘅知識裏面咧，將所有嘅生物體咧都視為係咧一個係不可被毀滅嘅存在。
But then there's rajasic knowledge or passionate knowledge.
然之後咧，呢一個激情屬性嘅知識咧，就係、
And in this form of knowledge, differences are seen.
就會見到咧呢一個嘅分別，有個分別。
And so the siblings, the divine siblings and the demonic siblings from the children of Diti and Aditi, some of them were of a nature of splitting, having passionate knowledge, seeing the differences between things. And the others, the children of Aditi, non-splitting, her knowledge was that of unification. She saw the same and the devas have that quality.
咁所以從呢兩位嘅母親咧，佢哋所誕下嘅即係佢哋嘅兒子啦，咁咧就會有呢兩種特質啦。咁咧Diti 咧就係、會分裂嘅，會有呢個分別心嘅。咁所以呢個就係惡魔嘅一邊啦。而Aditi咧就係、不分裂嘅，咁咧佢生落嚟嗰啲咧就係、半神人嚟嘅，嗰啲神明嚟嘅。
So that gives us some idea of the difference between the asuras and the devas.
咁所以呢個係同大家介紹一下究竟半神人啦、呢啲神明啦，同埋惡魔之間嘅分別區野。
So one day in the gardens, the beautiful gardens of Devaloka, the heavenly city,
咁有一日喺呢一個天堂嘅一個星球裏面，
Indra, the king of the devas, the king of the heavenly body, he was riding on his elephant in a very good mood.
咁佢有一日咧就喺呢一個天堂嘅星球裏面咧，佢就係半神人之首啊！佢就騎住一個大象，心情好愉快。
And he came across the great sage Durvasa.
咁佢就遇到一位聖人叫做 Durvasa。
And Durvasa offered him a garland.
咁呢位聖人咧就為佢咧獻上一個花環。
But Indra was feeling quite proud on his beautiful elephant.
咁咧 Indra 咧就有啲驕傲，佢騎喺呢個大象上面。
And Indra is one of the, he's a deva.
咁 Indra 係半神人，
But, you know,
但係呢位面前係佢面前係一位聖人。
and so he took the garland and instead of putting it on himself, he just put it on top of his elephant.
咁佢就冇戴嗰個花環啦，就擺咗即係掛咗喺個大象嗰度。
And the elephant, not liking the feeling of the garland, took it and just threw it on the ground.
咁呢個大象唔中意嗰個花環，即係喺佢身上面咧，就將個花環咧就即係抌咗落地下嗰度，跟住就踩個花環。
And so the sage Durvasa was extremely offended.
咁呢位聖人就覺得非常之受到我哋叫受冒犯啦。
And he cursed the devas.
於是咧佢就落咗個詛咒，佢就詛咒呢啲半神人。
Immediately, the devas lost their vitality.
咁咧，當佢講出呢個詛咒之後咧，呢啲半神人咧就失去咗佢哋嗰種嘅生命力啊，嗰種嘅精力。
And perhaps more importantly, they lost their immortality.
就冇咗佢哋呢一個嘅不死嘅呢一個嘅能力。
So the asuras, meanwhile, their siblings on the other side, immediately noticed the change.
咁佢哋嘅兄弟咧，即係嗰啲惡魔咧，即刻就感應到啦，佢哋失去咗呢個能力。
And together with their great king, Bali, they decided to attack immediately.
咁佢哋就覺得呢個係一個好好嘅時機，去到即係攻擊呢一啲嘅半神人啦。佢就連同埋呢一個巴利國王咧，就想趁呢一個即係趁佢哋好弱嘅時候咧，去攻擊佢哋。
And so they stormed Indra's heavenly city.
咁咧就去到Indra 呢一個天帝 ，OK， 佢嘅皇宮裏面啦，佢嘅地方咧就將佢裏面啲嘢全部粉碎。
And they just routed the Devas out of the city. They ran them out of their own city.
咁將佢哋所有一切都摧毀。
So feeling very dejected, many of them having been killed, being bruised, their honor bruised, their pride bruised, their bodies bruised.
咁有好多都即係會受傷啦，跟住有啲可能係甚至死啦。
They went to go to see their grandfather Brahma.
咁於是佢哋就去揾佢哋嘅祖父 Brahma。
They said, Brahma, we have a big problem.
咁啊，祖父我哋今次大件事啦。
And Brahma could feel their pain. He was like, whoa.
Brahma 知道，係啦，佢知道佢哋嘅痛苦。
And so he decided, he thought to himself, this is an age in which the Devas should be strong.
咁 Brahma 就係呢個年代咧，呢啲嘅半神人咧應該係強勢嘅。
And so he told them, let's go talk to Vishnu, let's go see Lord Vishnu.
咁不如我哋揾下Vishnu 啦，去見佢啦。
And so they all went and approached Lord Vishnu.
咁佢哋就去到揾 Vishnu。
And much to their surprise, Lord Vishnu's advice, they were hoping that Lord Vishnu would just take care of the problem and get rid of those asuras.
咁於是佢哋心裏面諗，Vishnu 咁犀利係咪？去到咧一定咧搞掂晒啲惡魔啦，即係將我哋呢件事咧搞平啦。
But instead, Vishnu sat there and said, well, yeah, it seems like the times are not favoring the Devas right now. The times are favoring the asuras.
咁但係 Vishnu 咧個回應就話啦，而家好似咧嗰個嘅時不與你啊，而家嗰個時間唔喺你嗰邊啊，而家個時間咧係有利於呢一啲嘅惡魔。
But I have a plan.
不過我有個計劃嘅。
But you'll have to go and ask for the asuras' cooperation.
你哋咧而家咧就要同呢一啲嘅惡魔去到合作。
What needs to be done, you cannot do by yourself.
不過咧你唔可以靠自己嘅力量嘅。
You need their help.
你需要佢哋嘅幫助。
Because what you need to do is you need to go to the ocean of milk called Kshirshagar.
要去到呢個牛奶嘅海洋。
And you need to go, yeah, the name is very difficult, we'll just say the ocean of milk.
OK， 只係一個充滿住牛奶嘅海洋。
And you have to retrieve the nectar of immortality called Amrita from the bottom of that ocean.
咁你要咧攞翻你嗰個令到你可以不朽嘅嗰個嘅甘露，但係咧要喺個海底嗰度攞翻翻嚟。
And to retrieve the nectar from the bottom of the ocean of milk, you need to churn the ocean of milk.
如果你要攞翻呢一個嘅，即係攞到呢個不朽嘅甘露咧，你要去攪動呢個牛奶嘅海洋，攪佢。
It's a big job. You can't do it by yourself.
佢話咧，你靠自己嘅力量係做唔到嘅。
The Devas were not happy at first. They were like, we have to cooperate with the asuras.
咁呢啲半神喺度要同佢哋合作。
But they came to understand what Vishnu's plan was.
但係佢哋又知道 Vishnu 係有啲計劃嘅，所以。
So, at this moment here, it's important to maybe say a word about the Amrita, the nectar of immortality.
咁我哋講一講呢個不朽嘅甘露。
The word Amrita is made up of two parts, A and Mrita.
Amrita 咧係由兩個部分組成，一個就係 A， 一個就係 Mrita。
Mrita, so A means not.
A 嘅意思咧就係不 ，no。
So Mrita, it means dead, expired, defunct, useless, ineffective, rigid, without life.
I try. 咁咧 Rita 嘅意思咧就係OK 冇生命嘅、過期嘅、冇作用嘅、冇用嘅、冇效嘅呢一個 rigid 即係古板嘅、OK 刻板嘅，同埋冇生命嘅。
So we can imagine that if what they need, if the medicine is amrita, the opposite of all those things, then mrita must be saying something about their state.
OK， 咁所以咧，你諗下，如果前面加個啊字咧，就頭先講嗰啲嘅相反。咁所以 Rita 咧就係而家本神人個狀況。
So somehow they are kind of dead. Actually, they've forgotten life.
咁佢哋而家就好似冇生命嘅一堆嘅生物，忘記咗佢哋嘅生命意義。
And so, in order to get life back, they have to go churn the ocean of milk.
咁為咗攞翻佢哋嘅生命力咧，佢哋要去到做呢一個嘅攪動牛奶海洋。
So the devas went, their hats in their hands, in a very humble mood, approached the asuras.
咁於是呢啲本神人咧就會好謙卑啦。今次咧係去好似去求呢啲嘅惡魔咧，去一齊同佢哋合作。
And at first the asuras were going to jump on them and kill them all, but then Bali stopped them.
OK， 咁一開始呢啲惡魔咧就即係動手啦，跟住咧巴利王咧就阻止佢哋喎。
And they explained the plan to the asuras. They told the asuras that the bottom of the ocean of milk is the nectar of immortality.
咁咧呢啲本神咧就同惡魔去到解釋，佢話咧喺呢個海洋嘅海底裏邊咧有呢一個不朽嘅甘露。
And it is a big job, too big for either you guys or for us.
咁有一個好大啱嘅呢啲甘露啦，咁咧一係你要，一係我要。
But that together we can do it.
但係咧我哋即係兩個唔可以靠自己嘅努力去到攞到，但係我哋一齊嘅話咧就可以得到啦。
And the asuras were very tempted by the idea of immortality.
咁當呢一個惡魔咧聽到呢一個嘅提議嘅時候咧，佢覺得哇好正啊！
And so they agreed.
於是佢哋就應承咗啦，好一齊合作。
And then immediately together, the devas and the asuras left to go to the ocean of milk.
咁就一齊出發去呢一個牛奶之洋。
And when they got there, they realized they need something to churn the ocean.
咁佢哋去到個海洋咧，就諗，要攪動，我攞啲咩去攪咧？
And so they went to get the mountain Mandara.
咁佢哋攞咗座山過嚟，叫做Mandara 山。
But it was too heavy for them.
不過太重啦。
And so actually Garuda, the divine mount of Vishnu, went and helped them.
咁呢一個 Garuda 咧就係Vishnu 嘅坐騎，OK 一個鳥嚟嘅，就去到攞呢一座山過嚟。
And they brought the mountain back and placed it floating on top of the ocean.
咁呢一座山咧就漂浮喺呢一個牛奶之洋嘅嗰度中間。
Now before we should stop here again a moment and just mention that the name of this mountain, Mandara, is an interesting name also.
咁呢個山咧都好特別嘅，叫做 Mandara。
It also has the meaning of large,
好大啦，
bulky,
好重啦
slow,
，slow 好慢，
sluggish.
好即係好sluggish，即係黐好似黏嘅，好張住嘅膠住嘅，
And dull.
好
蠢
好鈍。
And so it's interesting that the material that's going to be churned, the churning rod, is this dense, slow, dull mountain.
咁大家可以想像下呢座山咧，又重啦，又慢啦，又黏住啦，咁樣嘅一個狀態。
And then Vasuki, the snake, was brought in.
咁嗰條蛇咧，Vasuki 咧就帶到嚟啦。
Now this is the same snake, the same king of the snakes that in the other one last week was the tether between the boat and the Lord as fish.
咁係同一條蛇嚟嘅，同我哋之前講魚化身嗰條蛇咧係同一條蛇嚟嘅，蛇王嚟嘅呢條。
Which is quite interesting. This snake should again be playing a role in another lila.
咁幾得意喎！佢喺呢一個嘅故事裏面又有個角色俾咗安排咗俾佢。
But anyhow, they wrapped Vasuki around the mountain with both ends in different directions.
咁大家想像下咧，中間有呢一座山啦，跟住咧將呢一條蛇咧就綁住呢一座山，咁咧佢個頭喺一邊，尾喺一邊。
And then Vishnu went to the head of the snake to lead the devas, pick up the head, and, okay, as soon as you take the tail and we'll start to churn. But the asuras were not very happy with this arrangement.
咁跟住之後佢哋就Asura 即係呢啲惡魔啦，你哋咧去到呢條蛇嘅蛇尾嗰度就拉住條蛇尾 ，OK？咁另外嗰啲半神人就拉住個蛇頭啦，咁我哋就開始叫搞動嗰個海洋。
They remembered they had just beat the devas.
咁但係呢啲惡魔咧就唔高興，我哋啱啱先至打敗呢一啲半神人。
They said, we should have the head.
我哋應該係攞住個蛇
You
頭，
should have the
你
tail.
哋半神人就去蛇尾嗰度啦。
And so Vishnu with a smile said, okay.
咁 Vishnu 好啦，冇所謂啦，你
And they changed.
咁啊調轉咗啦。
And taking their place at each end of Vasuki, they began to pull.
跟住佢開始呢一個搞動啦。OK，一邊係半神人，一邊係惡魔，佢就開始搞啦，攞住呢條繩拉住佢，拉扯住佢就搞呢個山，跟住搞到呢個
And
海洋。
Nanda started to spin one way and then the other way.
咁所以大家可以想像嗰座山咧就係個中心個軸啊，所以佢哋一拉嘅時候咧，咁嗰個山咧就轉去一個方向，另外嗰邊拉嘅時候咧，個山咧又轉去另外一個方向。
But as it spun, it started to sink.
但係當佢喺度搞到嘅時候咧，嗰座山開始沉啊！
And the asuras and devas were extremely alarmed. Oh my gosh, it's all going to fall apart.
咁啲本神人同埋惡魔就好驚啦，死啦！座山會冧啊！咁仲搞啲咩啊？
And so Vishnu immediately incarnated as a giant tortoise.
咁呢個時候咧 ，Vishnu 咧佢就擴展另外一個化身咧，就係一個巨型嘅
He
烏
swam,
龜、龜、海龜、龜。
and he swam underneath the mountain.
佢就游咗落去咧，然之後咧喺嗰個山嘅下面托住咗座山。
And let it rest on its back.
咁咧就令咗座山咧就可以依靠住，即係挨住 ，OK 呢一個嘅烏龜，
And he supported the mountain
就支撐住呢一個嘅山。
so the churning could continue.
咁咧就令到呢一個攪動咧可以繼續。
And as the churning went on, the mountain got a little bit topsy-turvy.
咁呢一個攪動嘅時候，其實個山都會左右喐噶嘛。
And then Vishnu also put a finger on top
咁 Vishnu 咧就將佢嘅手咧擺喺呢座山嘅上面，
and managed to stabilize.
跟住就穩定呢一座嘅山。
And as the devas and the asuras were getting tired, Vishnu also came in and started helping on both sides.
咁呢啲本神同埋惡魔咧攪動咧好攰，跟住 Vishnu 咧又過嚟幫下手。
So Vishnu was very active in this whole
咁
endeavor.
Vishnu 就好積極咁樣參與 OK 呢一個嘅計劃。
After a little while,
過咗一陣，
Vasuki started to get very, very hot. He was rubbing this way and that way on the mountain. And from his breath came just a steaming, scorching, hot, smoky breath.
咁咧大家想象下條蛇咧俾人哋又拉啦又扯啦，跟住咧佢覺得好熱啊裏面，跟住佢就開始噴火啦。
And of course, the asuras who had insisted that they get the head were completely scorched.
咁嗰啲惡魔咧開始嘅時候咧堅持一定要拉住個蛇頭啊嘛，咁個蛇頭噴火，咁啊全部燒燶。
But actually, the breath was so hot and there was so much of it that everyone started to get burned. And so Vishnu arranged for some rain to cool everyone down.
咁大家即係又熱啦，又俾火燒啦，跟住 Vishnu 咧就安排啲雨雲咧過嚟攞下雨，俾大家涼快嚇。
And they continued to churn.
跟住繼續呢一個攪動啦，因為佢哋有個目
And the
標。
water was getting just big waves and just frothy.
跟住呢啲水咧開始即係波濤洶湧。
And suddenly it turned black.
跟住嗰啲海洋嗰啲水咧變成黑色。
And a poisonous toxin started to emerge.
咁咧喺嗰個海洋裏面咧出現咗呢個一啲嘅毒液啊！
This toxin is called hala
呢個叫哈啦哈啦。
or karakuta.
加啦哈啦。
Now these are two interesting words as well.
咁呢啲毒液咧個名叫做哈啦哈啦。
So these are, I got a list of names again.
呢兩個名。
Hala, black mass, poison.
Black mass
Yeah, I think I was that.
即係一團黑色嘅嘢，跟住毒汁。 液。
but also uproar,
咆哮或者
or interjection of pain or anxiety.
就有帶嚟呢個痛苦或者焦慮嘅。
Inquietude, painful restlessness or apprehension.
痛苦啦，或者呢一個嘅呢一種嘅即係唔能夠靜止嘅一種嘅狀態，瘋狂嘅。
Painful regret.
後悔啦。
Great perturbation and uneasiness.
呢一個嘅覺得唔舒服啦，唔舒適啦。
And great distress or trouble of mind.
咁呢個心意咧係有好大嘅打擾。
And Kalkuta means black poison. Black poison. Kalakuta.
卡拉庫塔，我哋卡拉庫塔即係黑色嘅毒液。
But also spite. Spite is hating.
仇恨。
Yeah. Spite is like hate.
仇恨。
Malice and venom.
venom
Venom like poison.
poison 都係毒藥嘅意思。
So this poison that came up, this toxin that came up, was both at once dark anxiety and fear, and also hate, malice, envy, and all these really ugly kind of emotions.
咁所以呢啲出現嘅毒液咧，裏面係包含住呢一啲嘅恐懼啦、焦慮啦、仇恨啦。
And it was threatening to kill everyone.
咁咧就當佢出現嘅時候咧，就會將所有人殺死。
And so they ran to Lord Shiva.
咁佢哋咧就去到揾 Shiva 神。
For Lord Shiva is the very soul of compassion.
咁 Shiva 神咧係好有憐憫嘅心嘅。
And Shiva agreed
咁 Shiva 好啦，我幫你哋啦。
to take care of the problem.
咁我幫你哋去到搞掂嗰啲毒液啦。
And he said to his consort, Parvati, his wife,
佢嘅consort佢就同佢妻子 Parvati 講，
that he will drink it up himself.
佢會飲咗呢啲毒液。
And she agreed. Maybe it was some hesitation, but she agreed because she understood.
咁佢 Parvati 就好啊，佢知道其實佢要做啲咩。
And when he started to drink it, she immediately reached over with her hand and she stopped it from going lower than his neck.
咁當Shiva 神飲呢啲毒液嘅時候咧，佢太太咧就撳住佢個頸嗰度，就唔想個毒液往下面流。
And the poison was so toxic it turned Shiva's neck blue.
咁呢啲毒藥咧係幾咁毒咧，係令到 Shiva 嗰條頸咧變咗藍色。
And so one of the names for Shiva is Nirkanta,
咁所以 Shiva 有個名叫 Nilakanta，
which means blue-necked.
藍色嘅頸。
A few drops escaped,
咁有幾滴咧流咗出去。
and those drops now live on in the venom of snakes and biting insects.
而家嗰啲蜘蛛啊、毒蛇啊，裏面有啲毒液咧，其實就係 Shiva 嗰陣時有幾滴流咗出嚟。
With that problem taken care of, the churning continued.
咁呢個部分搞掂咗，跟住佢要繼續去到搞到呢個海洋。
And finally, different treasures started to come out of the ocean.
咁最後咧有一啲嘅寶藏咧，從呢個海洋裏面咧產生。
I don't have time to go into all the treasures, which are quite beautiful.
但係冇時間同大家講有啲咩嘅寶藏出現，但係大家可以翻去睇嘅。
But Vishnu had instructed the Devas, you don't look at the treasures. You just keep your mind on the final goal, the Amrita. Don't worry about the treasures.
咁 Vishnu 咧就提醒嗰啲本神人有呢啲寶藏，不過唔好理佢哋，因為你最終嘅目標係呢一個不朽嘅甘露。
But as the Asuras saw the treasures coming out, they were very tempted.
咁嗰啲惡魔見到嗰啲寶藏出現嘅時候咧，就哇流晒口水。
And so they took some here and there, but basically the churning continued.
咁佢哋攞咗啲寶藏啦，咁但係嗰個搞到係要繼續嘅。
And finally, this beautiful figure emerged from the ocean.
最後咧有一個好美麗嘅人物喺呢個海洋裏面出現。
It was Danvantari,
Danvantari，
the celestial healer,
呢一個我哋有時叫藥師啊。
the father of Ayurveda.
Ayurveda 嘅呢一個。
And he was carrying the Amrita in his arms.
咁佢就攞住一啱嘅呢一個嘅 the Amrita， 嗰個甘露喺
When
佢
the
手上。
Asuras saw that he had the Amrita, immediately they surrounded him and they took it.
咁呢啲 Asura 一見到嗰個甘露出嚟咧，就即刻衝上去啦，就搶咗嚟。
And the Devas were just crestfallen. They were like, "Oh my gosh, look what happened! Everything is for nothing."
咁嗰啲本神就我哋咁努力，最尾啲甘露居然俾佢哋攞走咗。
And so they went to Vishnu, and Vishnu said, "Don't worry."
咁 Vishnu 唔使擔心。
And then a moment later, the most beautiful woman, if you can call this, appeared.
咁咧有一位跟住過咗一陣之後咧，有一個非常之美麗嘅女子出現咗。
But her beauty was not a soothing, pleasing beauty that makes you at peace, but one which stirs the heart and gets you very passionate.
咁但係佢嗰種美麗咧，唔係令到你好平靜
And
嘅，
again, I don't have time to
令
go
到
into
你
the
好
description,
多
but
嘅
it's
慾
well
望
worth
出
it.
嚟。有啲描述呢位女子係幾咁靚。
It's enough to say that everyone was disturbed and perturbed
咁所以每一個人見到呢位女子出現之後，哇，都心為意亂，
and deeply enchanted.
就俾佢吸引住。
But the Devas were able to remember Vishnu's instruction that they should just keep the eye on the prize. And so they were able to control themselves and not get carried away with their distraction.
咁所以呢啲本神人咧就記得 Vishnu 對佢哋嘅忠告，所以咧佢哋就一路諗住佢哋呢一個嘅不朽嘅甘露就冇被打擾。
But the Asuras had a lot more trouble with that.
咁嗰啲惡魔見到呢位咁靚嘅美女咧就麻煩啦，
They were unable to tolerate
佢冇辦法
her
控制
charm.
自己，冇辦法去到即係冇辦法唔俾佢吸引。
And so Bali, the king of the Asuras, approached her and said, "You are so beautiful.
咁呢個惡魔嘅之首啦，巴利王咧就話：你好靚喎，
You should decide who will get the avataras."
不如等你嚟決定呢一啲嘅甘露應該係邊個得到啦。
And she said, "Okay, I will do that.
咁呢位女子就好啊，等我嚟做呢件事啦。
You will fast for one day, and we will reconvene here tomorrow."
咁話咧，你先去到斷食一日，聽日再喺度聚集翻。
And the next day, she had the Asuras and Devas sit across from one another in a large pavilion.
咁於是第二日咧，佢就安排咧呢一啲嘅半神人啦，同埋惡魔咧就一齊坐喺一個好大嘅一個地方場所。
And she went first to the Asuras and whispered in their ears.
咁佢首先咧，佢行去嗰啲惡魔嗰度啦，然之後咧喺佢耳仔咧，喺佢哋耳仔嗰度細細聲同佢哋講。
I'll let the Devas drink from the chalice, from the cup first. But I'll save the most for you and the thickest, best part for all of you.
佢就話咧，我先俾嗰啲半神人飲啲先，但係咧我會將咧裡面咧沉喺最下面咧最濃嗰啲咧留俾你哋嘅嗰啲甘露。
And the Asuras were so taken by her.
咁咧嗰啲 Asura 聽到之後咧已經暈陀陀咯，佢就好。
And they believed every glance she gave them. Every look was a promise they believed.
所以呢個女仔咧望佢哋咧，哇！每一個眼神都令到佢神魂顛倒。
But they agreed.
所以佢哋好啦，你決定啦。
And so then she went to the Devas and started to give them the chalice to drink from.
咁於是佢就開始去到本神人嗰邊就派呢啲甘露俾佢哋啦。
There was one Asura who was a little bit distrusting.
咁但係咧，當中有一個惡魔咧，佢唔係好信呢個女仔。
But first I should mention that her condition, when Bali Maharaj, when the king of the Asuras asked her to help, she said, "I have one condition." Yeah, Noemi.
咁但係呢個女仔咧，佢話咧，我可以幫你做，即係嚟到幫你分呢啲，但係我有一個嘅條件。
You must follow my instructions 100%.
佢話咧，你一定要100%去到跟隨我嘅指示。
And they agreed.
咁佢哋係答應嘅。
And so when she was giving the Amrita to the Devas, this one Asura disguised himself as a Deva.
咁但係有一個惡魔咧，就將自己假裝成一個半神人。
And just as Surya Dev, the sun god, had drunk from it and was about to pass it to Somadev, the moon god, this Asura snuck in between and grabbed the chalice.
咁咧呢個太陽神咧就飲咗啦，跟住佢就諗住 pass 過去俾月亮神。 咁咧呢一個惡魔咧就攝咗佢哋中間嗰度，就諗住飲，
And he quickly started to drink.
咁就開始飲啦。
Both Surya and Soma knew immediately there was a problem and called out, "Hey!"
咁於是咧太陽神即刻意識到呢個人有警覺，於是就即刻大聲嗌。
And immediately, this beautiful woman, Mohini, disappeared, and in her place was Vishnu. And faster than thought, his chakra was sent, and he cut off the head of the asura.
咁喺閃電之間啊，咁咧冇disappear，突然間消失咗，跟住 Vishnu 咧就送出佢呢一個嘅神碟，將呢一個惡魔嘅頭切咗落嚟。
For Mohini, the beautiful woman, actually was Vishnu the entire time.
咁其實呢一個美麗嘅女子咧，其實係 Vishnu 嘅化身嚟嘅，佢擴展佢自己成為呢一個美麗嘅女子。
But because the asura had drunk a little bit into his mouth, it didn't get to his body. So when the head was cut, the body died immediately, but the head became immortal.
所以呢個惡魔咧，因為飲到呢度，咁咧所以身體咧就係死咗嘅，但係咧佢因為佢飲咗呢個不朽嘅甘露，所以個頭咧係不朽嘅。
And so Vishnu put him up in the sky as one of the planets.
咁咧 Vishnu 就將佢咧擺到喺呢一個嘅天空裏邊其中一個星球，
This is what we call Rahu,
就叫做 Ra，
and is the cause of eclipses.
就係佢導致呢一個嘅食月食啊。
And of course, the asuras then didn't get any amrita. They had broken the promise. They didn't follow Mohini's instructions.
最後咧呢一個 Asura 咧就破咗佢哋個承諾，冇跟住Mohini嘅指示，呢個女子嘅指示。
And the devas regained their immortality.
咁呢一啲嘅半神咧，因為飲咗呢個甘露，所以又得到佢哋呢一個嘅生命力、精力。
So from there, the story continues. That's basically the end of this lila.
咁呢個就係呢一個故事嘅係啦，大致上就係呢個故事嘅結尾。
I'll just one thought to share with you about this lila is that it seems like the quality of tolerance is a major theme in this lila.
咁咧，當我去到聽呢個故事嘅時候咧，我自己感覺咧容忍啊係一個好大嘅主題喺呢個故事裏面。
There's the problem at first with the devas and the asuras, and the devas have to tolerate the asuras. They have to go and cooperate with them.
咁一開始嘅時候，呢啲嘅半神咧，佢哋要容忍啦，去到即係去到請求惡魔嘅合作幫忙。
And when they begin to churn the ocean of milk, and the poison comes out, which no one can tolerate, Shiva comes. He's able to tolerate.
咁當呢個攪動進行嘅時候咧，出現呢一啲嘅毒液啦，咁冇人能夠忍受啦，但係 Shiva 神將呢啲毒液飲咗落去。
And we can take inspiration, we can take inspiration from Shiva because as the Lord of renunciation, of discipline and austerity, He's tolerating all those ugly emotions that come up inside us when we have to cooperate with those who have a different nature from us.
咁所以當我哋同一啲可能同我哋性格唔一樣嘅人去到合作嘅時候咧，但係都要去到容忍咯。咁呢個就係Shiva神嗰個精神，佢飲咗呢啲嘅毒液，象徵住憤怒啊、仇恨啊或者恐懼。
And the devas have to tolerate the enticement, the attraction of all the treasures that come out of the ocean.
咁呢啲半神人當呢啲寶藏出現嘅時候，佢哋又要忍住喎，唔好俾佢哋即係吸引到。
And at the end, the asuras, who were not able to tolerate very well, they lost the amrita because they were unable to tolerate the enchantment of Mohini.
咁但係去到最後咧，我哋見到呢一啲嘅惡魔啦，佢哋最尾忍唔到，跟唔到Mohini嗰個女仔嘅呢個嘅要求啦，咁最尾就喪失咗呢個甘露，忍唔到。
So that's basically this lila, this story.
咁呢個係同大家分享嘅呢一個。
And I'm sorry it's taken longer than I was hoping. It's a long one, it's particularly long one.
呢一個故事，因為有10個發生，呢一個係特別長嘅。
So we'll just do a very short version this week of the story. We'll go through it maybe just once together, and then we'll move on. Okay?
OK，咁我哋一齊唱一唱呢一個嘅詩節。
So for those who weren't here last week, the structure here is that you have at the very top you have Dasāvatara, and then you have the list of names. At the bottom you have Jai Jagadish Hare. And the structure would go, look at the first name, Meena Sharira, would be Keshavadrita, Meena Sharira, and at the bottom, Jai Jagadish Hare.
咁我哋個唱咧個次序咧就係 Keshavadrita， 跟住咧就會加中間一個化身啦嘅名啦 Meena Sharira， 跟住就再落去咧就係 Jaya Jagadish Hare。
And then we'll also sometimes just say Jai Jagadish Hare. That's how we'll start.
有時我哋唱嘅時候會唱 Jaya Jagadish Hare。咁我哋今日呢個故事咧係 Kurma 第二個 Kurma 嗰個龜個名叫 Kurma。
Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare,
Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare,
Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare,
Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Again together. Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Keshavadrita Meena Sharira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Meena Sharira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita kurma-sarira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita kurma-sarira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita shukara-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita shukara-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita narahari-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita narahari-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita vamana-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita vamana-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Vigupati-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Vigupati-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Rama-sharira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Rama-sharira, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Haladara-rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadrita Haladara-rupa, Jai Jagadish Keshavadita kurma-sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Keshavadita kalki sharira Jai Jagadish Hare
Keshavadita kurma-sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Keshavadita Dasāvatara Jai Jagadish Hare
Keshavadita Dasāvatara Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Jai Jagadish